The day I found my daughter, Lily, locked in a metal cage under the punishing summer sun was the day everything I thought I knew about human cruelty and human resilience changed forever. It started out like any ordinary Saturday in Maplewood Heights, the picture-perfect suburban community we had moved into just 2 months prior. I thought we were building a fresh start. After my husband died last year in a car accident, I needed a place where my daughter could heal, where she could thrive. Maplewood Heights, with its pristine lawns and award-winning schools, including a wonderful deaf education program, had seemed like a dream. I had no idea that dream would turn into a nightmare. That morning, Lily was in the backyard playing on the small toy piano she had gotten for her 5th birthday. She was laughing, singing in that high, joyfully off-key way that only small children can. Her cochlear implants, which allowed her to experience a world she was born unable to hear, gave her a bridge to sounds most take for granted. But like many deaf children, Lily had difficulty gauging the volume of her voice, especially when she was excited. She would often sing louder than she realized. I was inside making grilled cheese sandwiches when a sharp, angry knock rattled the front door. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and opened it to find Karen Whitmore standing on my porch, her face pinched and furious. She was the president of the Maplewood Heights Homeowners Association, a title she wielded like a sledgehammer. "Your daughter is making that awful racket again," she snapped without even a greeting. "This is the 3rd time this week. We have noise ordinances in this community." I took a slow breath, willing myself to stay calm. "Karen, she's 5. She's playing. And she's deaf. She can't always tell how loud she is." Karen's eyes narrowed into slits. "A disability is not a free pass to disturb the peace. My husband works from home, and her screeching is disrupting his calls. If you can't control her, we'll have no choice but to fine you." She thrust a folded piece of paper into my hand on official noise violation warning. I closed the door without another word, my hands trembling. I leaned against it for a moment, blinking back tears. We had moved here for a better life. Was this what better looked like? My phone rang, snapping me out of my spiral. It was my boss, sounding panicked. There was a crisis with a major client, and he needed me on an emergency call immediately. I worked remotely as a customer support manager, and this account was vital to the company. I assured him I'd be right on it. I glanced out the window at Lily, who was still happily playing, completely unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the white picket fences. Our yard was fenced and locked. She was safe. I could see her piano and her little pink sun hat bobbing in the grass. Or so I thought. 20 minutes into the call, when I glanced up again, the piano was abandoned. I scanned the yard but didn't see her. My chest tightened. Maybe she was behind the big oak tree, I told myself, the same spot where she liked to collect acorns. 40 agonizing minutes later, the call finally ended. I bolted out the back door, calling her name. "Lily! Lily!" A faint, terrified whimper answered me from behind the garden shed. What I found there will haunt me for the rest of my life. Lily was trapped inside a large metal dog crate, baking under the brutal sun. Her tiny hands reached out between the bars, her face beet red, soaked with sweat. Her cochlear implants lay discarded on the ground outside the crate. A heavy bicycle lock secured the door. "Mommy!" she sobbed. "Help! The mean lady said I'm too noisy." I dropped to my knees, clawing at the lock, but it wouldn't budge. I sprinted to the garage, grabbing the bolt cutters with shaking hands. It took 2 tries before I snapped the lock. When the door swung open, Lily collapsed into my arms, trembling and gasping. Inside, as I pressed a cold cloth to her flushed cheeks and coaxed her to sip water, the story tumbled out between sobs. Karen Whitmore had entered our locked yard, ripped Lily's implants from her head, and shoved her into the cage, all because my daughter's singing was unbearable. She told Lily that deaf kids shouldn't make noise and that she was teaching her a lesson. A cold, sick rage ignited inside me. I tucked Lily safely on the couch with her favorite blanket, set up a cool fan beside her, and stormed next door. I didn't care if I made a scene. Karen's husband, Richard, answered the door, looking bewildered. "Where is she?" I demanded. "Who?" he asked, confused. "Your wife," I spat. "The woman who just locked my deaf daughter in a cage and left her to die in the sun." His face drained of color. "What are you talking about?" Before I could answer, Karen appeared behind him. She looked at me the way someone might look at a piece of gum stuck to their shoe. "That child was disturbing the whole neighborhood," she said coldly. I simply gave her a timeout since you clearly won't discipline her. Richard turned to gape at her. Karen, what did you do? Don't look at me like that, she snapped. Someone had to teach her that rules matter. She's a menace with her screeching. I pulled out my phone, trembling with fury. I had recently installed security cameras around the yard after a string of petty thefts in the area. I have everything on camera. I showed them the live feed-clear footage of Karen opening the gate, yanking Lily's implants off while she screamed in fear, shoving her into the crate, locking it, and walking away with an infuriatingly smug smile. Karen's face twisted. You're lying. That's fake. The flashing lights of the arriving police cruiser told her otherwise. The officers took one look at Lily's condition, saw the video, and arrested Karen on the spot. She screamed about enforcing HOA rules as they cuffed her and read her rights. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed what I had feared. Lily was suffering from heat exhaustion and dehydration. If she had been left there much longer, she could have died, he said grimly. I wept silently at her bedside, watching the fluid drip into her tiny arm. The guilt clawed at me. I should have been there. I should have protected her. Word spread quickly. By that evening, neighbors I had barely met were visiting the hospital with stuffed animals, home-cooked meals, and tearful apologies. We're so sorry, said Mr. Cho, the elderly man from across the street. Karen's been terrorizing us for years. Finding me when my husband's oxygen machine was too loud. Threatening a family because their autistic son's laughter bothered her. But what she did to Lily. It's beyond monstrous. Maria Lopez, who lived 2 houses down, told me through tears how Karen had once tried to fine her for planting butterfly-attracting flowers that weren't HOA approved, even though they were for her sick granddaughter. Stories poured out of intimidation, cruelty, and bullying, and always no one dared to push back. Until now. The next morning, Richard Whitmore visited the hospital alone. He looked devastated. I filed for divorce, he said. I had no idea. I'm selling the house. You'll never have to see us again. He handed me an envelope containing a check that would cover Lily's medical bills and trauma therapy. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. When Lily finally came home, the neighborhood welcomed her like a princess. Our backyard had been transformed. The neighbors built a music garden, filled with colorful wind chimes, a weatherproof piano, and vibrational sound pads that Lily could feel with her bare feet. A new fence and a top-notch security system made sure no one would ever lay a hand on her again. The HOA board voted unanimously to remove Karen as president. Maria was elected to replace her and immediately changed the bylaws to make Maplewood Heights a welcoming, inclusive place for families of all abilities. But Lily's healing wasn't instant. She refused to go into the backyard alone. She had terrible nightmares about being trapped, her voice taken away. Her therapist, a specialist in trauma recovery for deaf children, worked with her patiently using art therapy, music therapy, and sign language play to help her rediscover her confidence. It was slow. It was painful. But day by day, my brave girl came back to me. 6 months later, Karen went to trial. The footage sealed her fate. The jury took less than 2 hours to convict her of false imprisonment, child endangerment, and committing a hate crime against a person with a disability. The judge was furious. Mrs. Whitmore, he thundered. You caged a 5-year-old child like an animal because you didn't like the sound of her joy. You stripped her of her voice, her dignity, and very nearly her life. Your actions show a complete lack of humanity. He sentenced her to 7 years in prison, mandatory counseling, and a permanent restraining order preventing her from ever living in a community leadership role again. As they led Karen away, I caught her eye. For the first time, I saw something in her gaze besides contempt, fear. And I didn't feel sorry for her. 1 year later, Lily is thriving. She still has scars. Some fears don't vanish overnight. She sings again. She dances barefoot in the music garden. She plays her keyboard for crowds of smiling neighbors. Every home in Maplewood Heights now proudly displays a window sign featuring the American Sign Language symbol for welcome. Last month, we hosted the first Maplewood Inclusion Festival. Hundreds attended. Children of every ability laughed, danced, and played together in harmony. Lily was the star of the show, performing a song she wrote, Herselfan anthem of joy and resilience that brought the crowd to their feet. Maria presented me with a plaque that now hangs above our fireplace. It reads, "True community isn't about silence. It's about making sure every voice is heard. That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she signed a question to me. Mommy, do you think the mean lady can hear music in jail? I kissed her forehead. I don't know, sweetheart, but I hope one day she learns to listen. Lily smiled softly. I hope so too. Everyone should hear music. In that moment, I knew we were going to be okay. Karen had tried to cage my daughter's spirit, but she had failed. Lily's song only grew louder, rising above the hate, bringing a once-broken community together in a chorus of hope. And we'll never stop singing.